to build some sort of connection with their donor digitally. And this is done in subtle ways. We've pioneered some thought leadership on this called trust raising instead of fundraising. And it's this idea that you focus on the heart instead of the wallet, connection before conversion, and donor delight before data. This leads us to create experiences that are focused on connection first. Listen, the organization that pioneered this in an offline world was...
Hello. Welcome to another Knowledge Bomb episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential and together change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Josh Bloomfield.
And if this is your first time, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of these amazing episodes. And if you're on iTunes, go ahead and rate the podcast and leave a review. That helps get the word out to great leaders and entrepreneurs like yourself.
Please help me welcome Josh with Connecting Hearts to Your Mission.
This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
Started my journey, out of high school. I skipped the post-secondary route and jumped right into learning programming. And I did that working on a really exciting project, building grant management software for United States governments. Wow. And so anytime there was a natural disaster, the process that each of the states would have to go through to get reimbursements from FEMA and to allocate that money to different municipalities and so on, I helped build the software to make that happen, and did that for about 5 years before really just feeling an urge in my heart to do something bigger. I wanted to take everything I had learned helping, build this tool, everything I learned in technology, to what I would have said, are the under-resourced entrepreneurs in my city. Yeah. And there was no more under-resourced entrepreneur in my city than my parents. They owned a bakery in the city. My dad and my grandfather, man, these guys were the cake bosses of Ottawa, the original cake bosses of Ottawa, Canada. Yeah. And I pitched my dad an idea one day. I said, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if there was an app where I could put in Cedric's information and his birthday, design a cake for him, and Cedric could get a cake on his birthday, and it would just happen. And my parents kind of stared at me and asked, "What's an app?" So I ended up having to try and find entrepreneurs in my community that perhaps understood technology but didn't know how to deploy it. So I got to work on a lot of really cool technology for bricks and mortar retailers to help them go online, for grocery chains to manage their supply chains, built software to manage service businesses and for property management and so on. I got sprinkled in between all this. I'm deeply devoted to my faith community, and this will get more into my personal story, but my faith community is a nonprofit, and so are a lot of the organizations connected to my faith community. And so word gets out that there's this guy who makes websites who can help you raise more money, and that's kind of the birthplace of GiveCloud. And in 2017, I was kind of at a bit of a crossroads. I was between projects, and it was either, do I potentially become an ordained minister? Or do I start a company? And it was really my wife who grabbed me by the collar that said, why do you keep jumping from project to project when there's an entire community of world changers, men who feel born to solve some of the world's hardest problems, but their hands are tied. What if you could do something about that? And so that was kind of the birthplace of GiveCloud. And so we've grown quite a bit since. 35 employees and helping about 700 nonprofits around the world fundraise and really build a meaningful connection with their donors. Been married since 2006, and I'm doing the math. Is that 18 years? It's 18 years. And got 2 daughters, and love doing music for fun. And that's a little bit about me.
So GiveCloud is an app or a software, or what is it?
Yes, a piece of software that allows organizations to fundraise. They can set up donation forms, and a lot of nonprofits just have very unique needs when it comes to how they connect
Yeah.
with their donors online. How do guys like you and I, Cedric, feel a deep connection to the organizations deploying themselves around the world or in our communities to make a real difference in the world? We're not the kind of guys who might, drop everything in our lives to go dig wells, but there are people who will. And there's organizations doing this. We're trying to solve for creating deeper connections between the Joshes and the Cedrics of the world and those organizations doing amazing things.
Yeah. So there's some things that happened with your dad, and how did that experience shape your approach to leadership and the commitment to build a positive workplace or culture?
I've never worked in a company. I've always, been on contract. I've always kind of done my own thing. So I don't have a frame of reference when people say to me, man, the culture at GiveCloud, man, it is so special. What are you doing different? And I don't know what they mean otherwise. But I grew up with a dad who was an addict.
Yeah.
In our circle that we rolled in deeply connected to our faith community. It was part of my dad's recovery process was through a faith community. And it really shaped a lot of who we were as a family.
Yeah.
But I could also feel the disconnect, even as a kid, going somewhere where I knew there was a certain standard of living and a certain expectation for how you need to behave and act. And, putting the pieces together that maybe my dad didn't fit that mold. And yet he was on the board, and yet he was serving here and involved there. And it wasn't until some of what he struggled with came to light that a lot of that came kind of crumbling down for him. And I remember as a teenager just being so frustrated that I knew a lot of the individuals on this board that he served with probably had their own struggles, had their own sins. And yet, because my dad had to wear his on his sleeve, he's the one who had to step down. He's the one who had to, he was seen for his struggle and not for his promise. And I think that is probably one of the most defining things of my leadership is I see people for their promise. It doesn't mean that everyone's a fit at GiveCloud. It just means everyone deserves to be treated like an adult, like someone full of promise with the autonomy to do their best work, to really contribute in a way they were designed to. Man, I so believe that about people, and people can make mistakes and we can work through that. A lot of this can just be simply summed up with the word grace. Growing up with that in that scenario, it just simply, how often are we as leaders applying grace? Grace for ourselves, grace for others. And I did not realize how rare a commodity that was in business. And I think that's one of the things that makes our culture at GiveCloud so special. Anytime you get a lot of people together, whether it's in a company or whether it's in a church or in a religion, it's difficult to see nuance. It's difficult to have these gray area conversations. And so you often end up with just the way things are. And the way things just gotta be. That's something I try and fight against at GiveCloud. I don't want to create a space where we get too comfortable. We celebrate change. Got to get comfortable with change because it is going to happen, week in and week out. I'm not talking year in and year out, like week in and week out. We are going to get better as people. We are going to change our minds in the presence of new information, of in a sense, new revelation about our product or about a market or about people or about a department.
How are you handling that? Because technology is, oh my goodness, it's evolving so fast, AI and all these different things. And here you are, you have a software, you have a program that you're dealing with. How are you able to keep up with this fast growing demand?
Oh man, AI is helping us keep up. Our team of developers uses AI to code. So we're now shaving, 40, 50% off our coding time because AI is able to help us craft some of the baseline code that's needed. It's helping us in our marketing. It's helping us even in my leadership, where I have to try and navigate perhaps a difficult conversation, being able to have that difficult conversation with ChatGPT first. Man, how can I language this with both love and wisdom and grace? Because I'm not the best at that. And that's not because I'm a hard person, but as a leader, sometimes we have high expectations of what we want out of our people and our team and our product and so on. And sometimes you just need that space or that third party to help us navigate how to language or communicate that truth you need to get across to a team without demoralizing them.
How to use digital fundraising. How does this work? What does this look like?
Oh man, it looks different for depending on the organization. But generally, you're putting up a donation form on your website and you're crossing your fingers that people will donate. There's really two camps of nonprofits when it comes to digital fundraising. There are those who enable digital fundraising on their website for the incidental donor. So this is, trying to think of an example, but an organization who might not be highly deliberate and intentional about how they market themselves online, but they've got a place that if someone's heard about them offline, there's a place to go and complete your transaction. Then there are those who are investing a lot of education, time, resources, operations, and people into digital fundraising. And there are some that are doing it really, really well. And I'd say the best ones that do it find a way to build some sort of connection with their donor digitally. And this is done in subtle ways. Well, we've pioneered some thought leadership on this called trust raising instead of fundraising. And it's this idea that you focus on the heart instead of the wallet, connection before conversion, and donor delight before data. This leads us to create experiences that are focused on connection first. Listen, the organization that pioneered this in an offline world was World Vision. This idea that I can give a recurring monthly donation similar to my Netflix subscription, and it isn't just going into the ether. I am holding a piece of paper with the child I am sponsoring. This is the kind of experience that donors are expecting. And GiveCloud's, blessed to be, on the cutting edge of this. We've got some patents around this. Impact fulfillment, where organizations, let's use a Habitat for Humanity as an example, could create a donation form where instead of people donating to Habitat for Humanity, they could donate to, for example, they could donate 3 square feet of home, or they could donate 2 sheets of drywall. And we actually start to commoditize impact and then create a feedback loop with the donor on when those supplies are used or when those square feet are built with robust images that we're used to seeing in our culture, right? Like we're used to what I would say is social fidelity. I don't need to go get an affidavit that you and I we're on this podcast. I mean, we're filming it here. I could take a selfie and say, hey, Cedric and I hung out in a podcast today. That would be believable enough. Why are we leveraging this social fidelity to help prove the impact that organizations are having? And it is such a low bar for these organizations to do. But it's not an easy conversation for nonprofits, man. These are individuals and organizations operationalized for impact, not necessarily the kind of arduous process of having to manage donors. Like what other organization and what other type of organization are there these two very distinct stakeholders that you have to operationalize your organization around? In business, for my parents' bakery, it's just simply bake the best possible cake. That's, we want to make the customer as happy as possible. But for nonprofits, they've got donors and beneficiaries. You feel this, Cedric. I've got to deliver the best meals I can and create the most heartfelt experience for these lonely people who need food for their belly and some food for their soul.
Yes.
And then you've got this whole other segment of donors. All they do is fund the mission. And of course you want them to feel a connection, but like almost, it is really a distraction from what your organizations operationalize to do, which is feed hungry bellies and hungry hearts.
Yeah.
So it's a unique challenge for nonprofits, and I didn't mean at all. I hope no one misinterprets me saying that donors are useless. They're not. I'm a donor. I know I'm useful, but it's just that unique challenge for nonprofits. How do you manage both these stakeholders? And man, that is a challenge that I'm really up to help them solve.
Wow. Josh, this is good. I'm interested myself because everything you just said, I mean, you just hit my heart, right? We do all these great things, and the focus is, getting food to people. And oftentimes, from my experience, is the donation is the one that's probably most neglected, because all the effort and all the energy is going towards, the impact. Until when you look in the bank account, you're like, okay, we need to do something. And
you're reminding me of another reason why I started GiveCloud. And one of the reasons we've been innovating recently is the act of giving itself. Like the money we're giving is for the mission, it's for whoever needs it. But the act of giving is a gift for the giver. And I think one of the negative things that happens in digital fundraising is that it can actually rob the giver of the gift of giving. We want to redeem that experience, man. This is a holy ceremony that has been part of our culture, been part of humanity for eons. And in this digital age, we're so obsessed with likes and follows, and we're distracted, and there's so much going on. There's so much noise, and with the failure of, I would say the failure of church, church attendance across the board seems to be going down and has been going down. The faith communities used to be such a core part of our communities. Where I grew up, the church and the school were connected, and they were physically in the middle of the town because that's where everyone went on Sunday. And it didn't almost even matter what you believed. It's just what you did, and we took care of each other. That's where charity happened. That's where service happened. And we've lost that. And with parts of our culture kind of shedding its reliance on church and church losing that place in our culture, we're also losing these really important pieces. What did Mom always say? It's better to give than to receive. We've lost that. And so, man, part of what you're doing, like there's a gift that your donors have to experience through the work you do. And I kind of want to make it my job to make sure they can feel that through your mission, Cedric.
Wow. Josh, this is really good, man. For that's other nonprofits that's listening to this episode and probably excited about this information that's bringing hope to individuals, because I faced and I've talked to a lot of individuals, and every time I'm talking, especially nonprofits, when the question come up like, hey man, what can we do to pour into what you're doing? Everybody's like, hey, pray for more funds, That's like the big, for more funds. And I would love today when we can focus on what's important without worrying about that aspect, the funds and the resources. So, there's a nonprofit sector on here, but there's also a big, huge audience right now that's for profit, that's entrepreneurs, CEOs. So I want to kind of talk about from the CEO side of it. What are some of the biggest challenges that you're facing in building this impactful technology? What are you doing, and how are you overcoming those challenges? Josh, you don't look like you have any challenges. Josh, like, man, everything copacetic, man. Everything's great. Man. I'm good, man. Challenge. What is that?
I mean, listen, I am a chronically positive person, and so it is hard for me to kind of naturally dig those things up. And yet, there's all sorts of challenges. I mean, with any organization, scale is always a challenge. And how do you scale without sacrificing culture? How do you scale without sacrificing values? No matter how you slice it, whether you are a church, whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're a business, When people start to smell success, whether that is money, whether that is an amount of impact, whether that is whether that is influence, it changes you. You are tempted to bend your values. You are tempted to go, lax on your culture. And these are the small seeds that become cancerous over time. One of the things I've been committed to as a leader at GiveCloud is not taking I'm going to grow at all costs approach. There needs to be a bit of a we need to feel that fight to do good, feel that fight to do our best work, and that certainly exists at GiveCloud. But growing at all costs. I mean, there are costs I'm not willing to pay. I'm not willing to pay the cost of my culture. I'm not willing to pay the cost of my people and my team. There are lines you need to have in the sand, and so that's always a challenge. And it's not any bigger of a challenge today than it was last year or the year before. There's no necessarily new problem there. It's just always lurking at your door. I want to move fast right now. Do I just run with this, or do I continue relying on my team? Oh, we have an opportunity for this partnership, but they don't fully align with our values. Do we execute on that partnership?
Like as far as your business or whatever, what are some of the areas? I'm pretty sure that you have mentors that have strength in this area and this maybe has strength. So what are some of the areas, if you can name, maybe, I don't know, just a few, maybe just a few, about 30 or 40. I'm kidding. But just
listen. So for me, I've outrageously fortunate for some of the mentors that I've been able to surround myself with, and not sure exactly what they saw in me, but I've got, kind of three core gentlemen in my life. One of them I would look up to as, in business, I would kind of equate him to, a YouTube street fighter, right? He's not formally trained, but like, you don't want to mess with this guy because he's remarkably good at what he does. And, he's learned it on the streets. A dude who is an incredible dad, an incredible partner. And so I just take life notes from this guy. Second is a super well networked, really well accomplished manager, whose name gets referenced in massive boardrooms, and I am somehow able to call him a mentor and a friend, and to be able to pull from his experience and his just deep wisdom and his ability to see things clearly, and his love of music. And the third is a just really well accomplished CEO. He started businesses of his own, but has been involved in such a wide variety of businesses, and don't know how to describe him other than to say he's a legend would be an understatement. This guy's just been a really great business coach. And honestly, someone who didn't come from a faith background, but showed me that love and grace is portable in business without having that faith background at all. This guy is just someone who has operated through the relentless focus of wanting to grow organizations, but not at the sacrifice of people, and having loving conversations with people. So man, that guy's awesome. And then more broadly, we've been able to attract, because of these individuals. You bring one mentor on, they're telling their buddies about this thing they're involved in, and they want to contribute. That's one of the things entrepreneurs miss out on, is mentors want to be involved. They want to help. So we were easily able to attract, a handful of people who are like, what's this thing all about? If you're in on this, I'm in on this. So it starts with one conversation, then a second conversation, and then a connection or two. And then you end up broadening your mentorship and, your advisory. So specifically around growth, that's probably been one of the biggest areas for us with mentorship and like constant advisory, growth and sales. In commerce, we feel the need for a new hoodie, a new hat, and we'll go do the research and we'll find that. And Maybe it's from our favorite brand. Maybe it's from a brand we've discovered. I think it's just sad about human nature that we don't often think that way about charity and service. We're not sitting on our couches at 3 a.m. with one sock off our foot, covered in potato chips, thinking to ourselves, how can I, rescue a bunch of kids? How can I plant a bunch of trees? How can I feed people? We just don't think that way. We're not going to go out and find these. So it is going to, it's going to happen some other way. Organizations need to create that market awareness, that brand awareness. And another reason why nonprofits are swimming upstream in a lot of ways. And this is where we see, how do you say this? Like social good entrepreneurship. Really starting to take off nowadays, where people are connecting business with doing good, because while we might not seek out doing good, we will prefer the brand who is doing good. So if I can somehow justify grabbing this new hat and I'm also doing good, I'm going to go grab the hat where I'm going to do good. And entrepreneurs are catching on to this, and so are consumers. And so that's one of the ways we see nonprofits able to kind of break out of this cycle of hoping donors find them, find partners in the community that you can get not your logo, not your brand necessarily, but your impact in front of. Because I know this is going to hurt for some nonprofits to hear, but most people don't care about the name of your nonprofit, your logo, or who's even working there. All they care about is the impact. That's going to be the heart connection. I might be more likely to have a heart connection to a young woman's program providing entrepreneurship opportunities, because I got 2 daughters, and that resonates with me, versus a tennis program for amputees. Like that I doesn't resonate with me. And it's not that it's not a great cause. I just won't be likely to donate because there are other things in the queue for me right up front that involve addiction, that involve my daughters, that involve my family, that involve things that have impacted me. So nonprofits really being fearless and understanding the impact I'm producing isn't for everyone, but there are people who would literally die to help my organization, to be involved with what I'm doing. You want to find those people, partner with the organizations where those people shop every day, do business every day, connect with every day. This is the same struggle we have in business, defining your ICP, your ideal customer profile, and then getting in their head. Where's my donor? What are they thinking right now? What are they having for breakfast? Where do they work? How can I get in their face to make sure they know we are the conduit for impact, for that impact you want to have?
Josh, that is a knowledge bomb. This is amazing. Man, thank you so much, man, for dropping this knowledge on us, man. This has been really good. The Lead to Greatness community is definitely better for everything that you shared with us on today. If someone wanted to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
Oh man, you can head to givecloud.com. That's what I'm up to from a business standpoint. And I don't know if we can maybe include a link to my LinkedIn or my Instagram, but just look up Josh Bloomfield in either of those spaces, and you'll see this face and this beard and this hat somewhere in the list.
Yes, sir. So listeners, just check out the show notes and just click on the link. The link is right there. Click on the link, connect with Josh and what he's doing.
Cedric, my man, what an awesome episode. I just want to tell you, man, this is one of my favorite episodes, and I'm so honored to have been a guest. Thank you.
Yeah, man. So, man, I definitely appreciate you, man. It's really good. Very meaningful to my heart. A lot of areas that I have a disadvantage in, man, you really kind of opened some doors for me, or some thoughts for me as well to take back to my team, man. So thank you.
Hey, no sweat, man. And we'll connect soon.
Yes, sir. On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, I want to thank you so very much, Josh, for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us all.
We want to thank you for joining us today on the Lead to Greatness podcast. So remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace.